So I'm running a little bit behind today, as you can probably tell. So I'm going to be doing somewhat of a behind-the-scenes thing to show some of the stuff that goes on with just getting a stream set up and ready to go. So you've seen, I've done a previous video where you've seen the green screen setup, which I'm currently not using, mostly because it's a pain just to put it up and take it down all the time. But if I want to do floaty head, that's what I do. But otherwise, this is just really going to be me talking while messing around in GIMP, which is what I use for doing stuff and things and making shit work. Let me just move this down into the right place. Camera should be showing up. There we go. Yeah, so this is a matter of creating the thumbnails that go on the videos. So I don't make them in full HD. I do 1280 by 720 because that's more than enough for most people. And usually I'm working across two screens, but I'm compressing it down onto the one so people can see what I'm doing. So yeah, I've got a multi-layered file here, which you can see I've got a load of backgrounds that I've used over time. So I've got a bunch of images which I capture a new one for every single stream, and then I've got overlays which go on top of these. So if I wanted to change the text, which this would be, I'd be setting up one for Robocraft, so I go and find the Robocraft layer and turn that on. So now I have the Robocraft logo on there. And then this would be a patch notes one which I'm setting up, so I go and find the patch notes layer, which is down here somewhere. Where we go? There we go, patch notes, and then I turn off the behind the scenes text. So now we've got that, and now you'll notice the background is definitely not Robocraft, it's still a drop zone background. So I could cheat and just use a background from prior streams, something like not that, no, definitely not Tactical Craft. So I could do something like that, but I'd rather actually get a new background for a particular specific to this. So what I usually do is to make it somewhat brand aware or aware of what the Robocraft assets are. I will just take this and copy it or something like that. So let's go ahead and copy the image, and I'll paste that as a new image first. So, because that needs some editing and cropping, because this is only 1280 by 664, so that has to be rescaled, because mine is 1280 by 720. So scale image is probably not the best thing. It makes things a little bit blurry by scaling up, and I use Sync Lanczos 3 because that gives the best scaling option or interpolation. So scale that up. So now we've got an image which is 1388 by 720, so that now needs to be cropped down to the right dimensions, so image. But you'll notice this isn't really going to work because this is going to get overlaid by the patch notes copy there. So in this case, let's undo what I was doing. I just need to select this area here, which easiest way for me to do that is using the region select and then go ahead and add on bits to this. Is it shift? Yeah. And Photoshop is arguably a little bit easier to do some of this kind of editing, but it's the same kind of stuff basically. But it also costs you money, which this is free, so I'm not going to argue with free. And then the bit that I really want is not going to be the side here, but I'm just going to crop the entire section anyway. I'll need this as well. And then I need to get rid of that because I don't want that. So let's just draw a line there. So then I'm doing a copy and paste that as a new image. So now we've got that selected, the transparency in the background. Getting rid of that, don't need it anymore. And now I'm just going to crop this down a little bit further. This is just easier to work with. So zoom in a little bit, say 200%. And we're going up there. Now I need to get off the screen edge, so I just make this actually 50% and I can actually select off the screen. Oh, I don't actually need to do copy, I can actually image and crop to selection, so that crops it down back to 100%, and now I just need to draw a line across here to make this a little bit easier to get. Again, crop to selection, and now it's just a matter of making this edge more rounded. So the easiest way to do that again would be if I select this, oops, doing this wrong, really bad. So and now we'll use this and we'll add this on. I'm not worried about this being 100% perfect. There we go. Again, and now I invert the selection here, which is, I need to learn all the shortcuts for this. Layer, select, select, select. Where it is, invert. And now delete, so that's gone. And now I just need to make that, again, re-invert that. And I'm going to create a new layer for this section. New layer, okay. And then it's select, and I'm going to shrink it by about roughly that amount, which I'm estimating is about 30 pixels. So select, shrink by 30. We'll see how well that works. No, that was way too much. Select, shrink, so it's more like 14. There we go. And now, and the reason I'm doing that is so that it gets a rounded edge. So if I grow this, now that edge should be a lot more rounded than it was originally. So where is it? Select, grow by 14. Didn't really work. Oh well. So instead we're just gonna use this tool here. Get closer in to make sure it matches up. And switch back to the layer I was actually working on, and now select, I want to fill this in to make that a bit more rounded, so let's get the draw tool. And now select and invert. So now I'm going to erase from the outside of that to make it more rounded, so we just end up with a slightly more rounded edge. That's close enough, I'm not too fussy about it. And then same thing down here. Pull this in by a little bit. There we go. So invert the selection on that one because I don't need to fill anything on it. And then the erase tool. And then let's fix that tiny little bit of mess that is there. That's from the original copy. Make that a lot smaller. It's not perfect, but it's going to be close enough for my needs. And fill this in as well. So now we've got a cleanly cropped Brawl microbot, so we're going to copy that. And now launch up RoboCraft. Where'd it go? And now I just need to capture something from the screen that's going to be different to what I've got up at the moment. What can I do? That's white. We don't want white on the background. It would be too much of a conflict, probably. What looks interesting? Who knows? You know, I'm just going to use that as a background. So, going to have it there, because if I have it this way around, I have to end up cropping all of this stuff out. So if I have it like that, I can actually get a much cleaner crop. So now I'm going to do F12, print screen, exit out. And now that's where Steam should come up. So show on disk. Thanks Steam for all of the ridiculous number of thumbnails. That's the one I need to bring up. There we go. And now we're cropping this out. So crop to selection. And so we're almost there. So if I try to crop this to 1280, if we look at the bottom there, it's still going to be a bit too big. Let's undo the rectangle select, actually undo the crop. We can afford to bring this down a bit and get a much cleaner or easier to work with format. If I do something like that, might work closer. Image crop to selection. So if I scale that, 720, 1337, 1280 by 720, 689. Might be able to make this work. So if I do a canvas size, so image canvas size, increase that to 720, center that, we get a little bit of a border, but that would actually probably end up being covered. Now I'm going to invert this, so I'll flip the layer, transform, because I want it facing inwards. There we go. And now I need to fill in these gaps on the edges. So I've got a useful little tool for doing that. So let's do select, none, filters. First of all, I do need to do layer to image size, so that it, because at the moment the layer is hasn't resized to fit that. So I need to resize the actual layer I'm working on to the image size. So that forces the boundaries to go up. Although that's added in white space, Let's undo that. New layer. There we go. Now I can do that and it should not do the white space. There we go. And now filters, and we're doing enhance hill transparency, so it's going to detect all the transparent stuff and hopefully fill it in as best as possible. And it's done white because you suck, because I got the wrong layer selected. Oops, let's select this one. Oh, so it didn't resize the layer to image size. Helps if I have the right thing selected. And of course, it didn't do what it needed to do. Let's zoom in. Alright, so let's try to use that tool again, hill transparency or hill selection in this case. So basically it tries to take the data from the rest of the image and fill it in. So you'll see where it's kind of created some artificial content that goes in there. It's a pretty neat, useful tool. It's a very old, very useful Photoshop trick. So doing the same thing on the bottom here. And filters, enhance, hill selection. Now it's going to have a little bit more trouble with the patterning here. See what it does? It kind of made it all jumbled up. Easy way to get around that though is if I now grab this and I can bring this up to about that point. And if I create a new, so we're going to copy that. And now layer, new layer. And we're going to edit, paste. So now we've, anchor layer. So now we've got that bit selected over here. Now what I can do is if I put a gradient over this, or a filter basically, so bring that back onto the screen, we're going to put a layer mask on this. It's going to just be a black-white layer mask, and we're going to get that selection. If we turn this off and make this into a gradient on the layer mask, so you can see where it's made it kind of transparent. I don't want it quite that transparent on that selection, so I just have to play with this a little bit. So that's now solid. And now if I apply a blur, I needed to apply a blur to the underlying image, which I screwed up. So blur, undo blend, undo blend. Alright, so I want to turn that off. Filters, blur, Gaussian blur. We're going to do about, yeah, 45% works. Too blurry. Yeah, no, that'll work actually. And now we do the layer mask. And I'm by no means a professional at doing this. It's all self-taught. So this basically sets transparency, so now it's going to, we've got this weird transparency effect going on. If I bring that back up, it makes it, sort of blurs the edge out and makes it kind of work. I don't need to worry about that on the top, but it just helps to hide all of that messed up stuff at the bottom. It's more of a smoother type option. Now if I want that not to be quite as harsh, I can just adjust the opacity of that particular layer. So I just need it enough to hide the worst of the artifacting that's going on at the bottom. But to be honest, you're not going to see this because it's off the bottom of the screen anyway. So so now we've already got this size to the right thing. Let's just merge all the layers down. Edit, copy, select all first. And now we bring back up the other thing that we had here. Actually, no, we didn't do this right. I need to get this put on here, so copy, edit, paste as new layer. Nope, I had the wrong layer selected because I've got nothing selected there. Select all. Kill that layer. And now you'll see where it went to the top corner, so we now need to just move that into the right location. Where'd my toolbox go? There we go. So make that 100%. I want that around about there on the screen. I can probably get rid of all this black if I really need to. Let's see what happens if we do that. That looks actually a little bit better. Select none. Now we just need to make it have a little bit more definition against the background, so filters, using the old drop shadow tool. 0, border, 0, 15 should be about right. We want it to be 100%, so that just helps bring it out on definition. Now instead of adding more drop shadow, I can just duplicate that layer a couple of times. Now merge those down. That looks good. Well, it looks good enough anyway. So copy that, and now we can go back to the main template. Make sure we've got the correct layer section added, selected here, and now I'll paste that as a new layer. There we go, that's our thumbnail. So export. And I've got a library on here that's basically got everything somewhere. Where'd that go? Okay, so I've got a naming scheme. So this is channel thumb, RC patch notes, and this is for what's this update? Brawl microbots. That's it. And this is the thumbnail. So I put th export. Need to make sure the quality is set to 100%. Use progressive format because YouTube doesn't recompress it if you use progressive. If you don't have this checked, then YouTube will actually take your image and recompress it. Floating point because it gives you the maximum quality, and again subsampling 444, again best quality. So export that, and now we bring up YouTube. To my studio, live stream, and of course because I'm actually streaming, it means it's a pain in the ass to change the thumbnail. You're going to end up with seeing this on here instead. So let's change the thumbnail for this. It won't affect that stream. Better just be there and ready to go. And the next stage will be going ahead and changing the name of this for the next stream. So it's going to be RoboCraft patch notes micro brawl. Is it micro brawl or brawl micro? Microbots or something like that. Man, I've just edited the thing. Oh, Brawl Microbots, that's the one, yeah. Okay, so don't need to save anything. I will need to set a game title when I'm ready to go. But yeah, that's it. That's basically what I have to do whenever I do set up a stream. The next thing will also be taking this image, or the one that I pasted here. I need to also export this as a standalone image, so I put this as BG, which is short for background, again at 100%. And then I bring up OBS. This is where things get super trippy. And here on the channel start dialog, which is going to make it look all weird, I will go down, which that screws things up because now you can't see what I'm doing. Anyway, so on channel start I've got a layer which is basically background, so I will change that to be the background layer, or the background image. So on this screen you'll see what happens when I do that. Here we go. And that becomes a new background. Anyway, so that's what I have to go through in terms of setting up stream or getting things ready for a particular stream. Sometimes I have enough time to do that well in advance, other times I don't. But in this particular case, I'm about to stop this part of the stream and restart in about 5 minutes with the patch notes of Robograph. So thanks for watching this, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Goodbye.